And welcome everyone. I'm Bill Newell, joined by Phil Stacy with the hat on, Matt Williams and Nick Giannino here on our weekly podcast. And Phil, let me begin with you, since you're calling from the road, as you can tell here from your background.
Yeah.
Do you have your seatbelt on, Phil? I guess you're stopped, so you're good, right?
I'm stopped. Yeah, I'm stopped. So I have I got it here, but I took it off for now. So
fair enough.
Yeah, from one rink to another here. So had a game earlier today. This is of course on Friday. Was over at the Connery Rink in Lynn to watch Danvers and Marblehead, and Danvers scored a 4-1 upset over the first place Magicians. More importantly, or I should say more noteworthy, I should say, not importantly, but head coach Steve Baldessari and assistant coach Ryan Hayes, who have been on the sidelines all season because of, there was, they weren't really told why. They just couldn't coach by the, let's call it upper management in Danvers. They got the okay late Thursday night that they could coach the rest of the season, which consists of a whole 3 days. So they were back today, and clearly the Falcons, I think, were buoyed by their return. They played with a lot of passion. They played with a lot of heart. They went after it. They had a lot of jam. They took a lead. Marblehead tied it up late in the second period, kind of had that momentum, but Danvers came back, played a really strong third period. They got a hat trick today from senior winger Tyler Robinson. They got another goal from captain Brian Taylor. They had 28 saves from Adam Briggio in net. So it's a big win for Danvers. It's been an up and down season for them where they've had trouble scoring goals, but today it was all systems go for the Falcons with Coach Baldessari, Coach Hayes, and acting head coach Andrew O'Neill, who had been piloting the team, was there today as well, and as in an assistance role, which I thought was really great.
Did they discuss that at all after the game, Phil? I imagine not, the coaching situation.
Well, it's interesting, and I'm glad that you asked. The coaches were not supposed to talk to the media. Certainly not their choice. Again, I'm guessing that comes from the ivory tower, wherever that may be in Danvers, where the rules come down from. And, that's fine, whatever. But the players are more than happy to talk. And I got two of them, Tyler, who had the hat trick, and Adam Briggio, the goaltender. And, they, of course, were focused on the team win, and we're happy about that. And great win over a terrific Marblehead team, first place Marblehead team. But they also said that they were very thankful to Coach Andrew O'Neill for allowing them, guiding them this season, or letting them have a season and doing a great job with the team. But we're also very thankful to have coaches Baldessari and Hayes back today. And I thought it was very telling that both players said separately to me that those two gentlemen are really like second fathers to the two of them. And they were thrilled that they were able to come back and at least coach them for a final slew of games this weekend. So make of that what you will from both sides of things.
Very, very informative, I guess, although yet not informative, I suppose, on the other hand. Phil, what do we have coming up this weekend in hockey, and where are we looking in the NEC and other leagues as well, as far as boys hockey is concerned?
Yeah, so you get, by the time we listen to this podcast, it'll be over, but I'm on my way to catch St. John's Prep and Catholic Memorial in the Catholic Conference playoff semifinals. If the Eagles win, they would get either Xaverian or Malden Catholic tomorrow. If Xaverian wins, Prep would play at Xaverian. If Malden Catholic wins, the Eagles would host tomorrow. Huge NEC game tomorrow, Marblehead and Masconomet tomorrow, 7:30 at the Essex Sports Center. That will be for the de facto league championship. Both teams have 17 points, as does Winthrop. So Winthrop could wind up as a co-champion. Winthrop hosts Beverly tomorrow at 12:40, but Marblehead and Masco battle each other. So one of those teams is likely to come out with 19 points, which would give it the league title. Of course, if there's a tie and Winthrop beats Beverly, then Winthrop would win the title with 19 points, and Marblehead and Masco would have 18 apiece. Peabody, Bill, can wrap up the NEC South by defeating Swampscott tomorrow. Nice season for Christian Wright and his team. And Swampscott, very young team. We've talked about this year. A lot of freshmen, a lot of guys without much varsity experience. They're looking for their first win in their final game, so good luck to them. Bishop Fenwick will just return from some time off. They had their fourth pause earlier this season because of the virus. They beat Lowell Catholic on Thursday, and they're playing Essex Tech tomorrow at noon at the Essex Sports Center in their final game for both of those teams. And Danvers plays was Saugus on Saturday in Gloucester, and then they wrap up with Gloucester, which is coming back from its own pause on Sunday afternoon. So I believe that's everything.
And again, for folks that are watching this on Saturday, and we are recording this on Friday afternoon, so that tomorrow was Saturday, as you clearly stated. But just to be clear to everybody,
sorry,
yeah,
yep,
no, that's fine. Just thought we'd just point that out. Clearly, there's the games on Saturday. So Phil, any Masco? I know you did a little story on Masco this week. On the Masco boys hockey team, again, first year in the Northeastern Conference, but they've had a great year.
They really have, and it really continues, what they've been building there the last 3 or 4 years. They were back-to-back Cape Ann League champions before they entered the Northeastern Conference this year. They've had another really, really strong season. Had this been a normal year with state tournament playoffs and whatnot, the Chieftains certainly would have been one of the favorites in Division II North, along with Marblehead and even Gloucester and Winthrop, I think. That's how strong the conference is this year. Andrew Jackson and his staff with Don Roach and Andrew Bopple have done a great job just really with the culture of that program and getting the most out of the talent that they have. There's a lot of talent in the Tri-Town area and talent that leaves, kids who leave for greener pastures or whatnot, but they keep replenishing the talent. They get some great captains this year with guys like Lucas Kennelly in goal, Trevor Currier on the blue line, Aaron Zenas up front, Richie Garino, who's only a junior, but he's a captain up front. They've got some real balanced scoring. It's got a great line. Started out really almost as like a third line, but it's almost emerged into the first with Chris O'Grady. He's a junior with Nick McMillan, a junior, and freshman AJ Sacco, who might be the most talented player on the team. All kinds of skill there. A lot of talented players in that Masco roster. They lost to Marblehead, though, the first time those two teams played. Willie, you did that game, if I remember right? 6-4. So Masco will be looking to bounce back tomorrow, Saturday night, if they're able to.
Matt, were you responding to that? I couldn't tell if that.
That was a good game. Yeah, great battle. Shull for Will. Marblehead had a great game that day, and just shows the parity, of the conference, and be interesting to see them match up against other conferences. They've kind of had a hard time the past few state tournaments, so you wonder, the parity would be nice if they could prove that it was, a rising tide, raising all boats kind of thing, but not to be this year as it goes. So. On we go, and it'd be nice if hope they're listening for the spring. Seeing the Cape Ann League and their big showdown between Triton and Newburyport and their playoff final. It would be nice if the NEC had that option. It'd be nice if Danvers' big win today was actually a playoff win. Something they could hang their hats on, or. That would be a hard tournament to predict, right? I mean, who would be in the finals? Would it be Danvers and Gloucester? Would it be Marblehead and Masco? Would it be some other combination? We missed out a little bit, I think, with them not having that. I think on the boys hockey side, probably would have been the most unpredictable of the four major sports in the NEC if there was a tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, Gloucester, Willie, can play with anybody. I think Winthrop is really strong with the style that they play. And, Beverly on the right day can beat anybody in this league. And that's not to say.
Yeah, Beverly. Yeah, I forgot now.
And that's not to say on the right day they can't
Beverly
beat anybody.
Would have been right in that mix.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it would have been a fun tournament.
Yeah, I should have mentioned Beverly. That's about 6 teams that all could have been in the finals. So it would have been March Madness,
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of pucks on that.
Gentlemen, I'm going to leave you be so I can get back to I can get to my second game, but thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay. Phil, great. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Okay.
Stay safe from the blizzard Rama here, whatever it is.
You're not out plowing today, right, Phil? You're just going to hockey games, right? Okay.
My plow doesn't work well on the CRV, unfortunately. So just hockey today.
You got it. All right, Phil. Thanks for joining
Take
us.
care, guys.
Thanks for all the information.
All right,
Hey,
see you, boys.
Okay. Hey, let's stay on hockey, Matt. Let's go to girls hockey. What were some of the events in the past week and ahead this weekend?
Well, I think you got to give a shout out to Beverly. They got their biggest win of the season up at Winthrop. Winthrop was a second place team trying to push for first place, and Beverly knocked them off. It was only their third win, but that's a deceptive record. They've had some really snake bitten losses, 1 goal, 2 goal here and there. They lost 3 straight games by 1 goal with the tie being broken late in the third period. So that's a better team than their record shows, and really nice they were able to get a win to hang their hat on. Emma Knott, the senior captain, had a shorthanded goal to lift them to a tie-breaking win in the third period. So it was nice that skate was on the other foot there for the Panthers. I would say Gloucester too, a bit of a surprise. They knocked off Marblehead just yesterday, and their goalie Avery Olson had a monster game, something like 40 saves or something like that. And she used to play for Marblehead, so I'm guessing maybe that was a little bit of an advantage. She practiced against all those shooters last year, right? So maybe she knew their moves and knew how to predict what they'd be doing out there. But just a few games left here, and we'll see what happens. Peabody certainly is going to three-peat as conference champions. Only 1 game left. They go up to Newburyport on Saturday. They've won 9 in a row. Looking to end the season winning 10 in a row with only the 1 loss, and of course they avenged the 1 loss. So good for them. And not much else on the girls' hockey scene. Just kind of playing out the string here, which is fine. A couple days left, and people trying to get in as many games as they can. I know Marblehead, I think, is playing 4 days in a row here. So everybody's doing what they can to get as many games as they can.
Yeah, I see where Marblehead, it looks like they've played like 10 games so far, something like that, which is pretty good, I guess, in a winter like this. And
yeah, they had 2 pauses, and I think they're playing 4 in a row. I think their only day off this week was Tuesday. I think they played Sunday, Monday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, I mean, that's a lot of games. Lucky thing for them is they have 2 goalies, so they can get one of them a little bit of a rest there. But, that's a lot of hockey in short order. And, the record, not that important. They just want to get the games in, because it's hard. I mean, you're not going to necessarily be able to win on the, 5th night of a 5 in a row. I mean, we always hear the professionals complaining, oh, it's a back-to-back. Oh, the Bruins are bad on the back-to-back. Oh, the Celtics, the second end of the back-to-back. So when the high school kids are playing 5 in a row, I'm guessing, winning maybe isn't the most important thing. As we've seen in all these sports this year, everybody's just looking to have fun and put the jersey on. That's the priority, as it should be.
Well, at least the Marblehead girls didn't have to go out to the West Coast this past week for all those games. So that's probably the good news for them.
I guess that's the one positive of this pandemic is there's no travel. Nobody's, well, I guess St. John's a little bit, but everybody else is pretty close to home. We don't have to drive down to Watertown to watch the Essex Tech hockey team play Newburyport like I had to one time. This is a complete joke.
Okay, and our apologies to Watertown, but whatever.
Well, it just doesn't. I mean, listen, if Watertown is playing Belmont, then have at it. But I don't know why 2 teams.
No, I hear you.
Miles north of the city are playing Watertown.
That's right. Okay, I got you. Hey, a little shout out to St. Mary's girls coach Frank Pagliuca. He picked up his 300th win this past week. So congratulations to him and to the Spartans. So good for him. Hey, Nick, we got a lot of basketball to talk about here on the boys' side, and we can bounce around between the boys and girls a little bit if we have other information. But I want to go back to probably the big individual story this week was Salem's Bobby Jellison with the 42 points, the 12 3-point makes for him. What a game for the Salem High hoopster.
Yeah, Bobby was lights out. as they say, earlier this week in a win over Marblehead. He hit, like Bill said, 12 threes. I believe he was 12 for 22 from the field. Started off hot, and just his teammates kept feeding him the ball. It was one of those things where I spoke with him after, and he just said every time he lined up to shoot, it felt like it was going in. So why not keep shooting? And they were giving him enough space, and some of the shots were deep. He was really stretching that 3-point line out, and it wasn't making a difference. He just had the stroke going and was able to hit 12 of them. So he finished with 42 points, career high for him. We did some research. We figured that the 12 threes was the most in Salem High history. But there has been a few performances with more. One that came to mind was Sean Conley for Bishop Fenwick back in 1997 against Savio Prep. He hit 13. I'm not sure if Willie was there a couple of years ago when Morgan Bovardi hit 11 for Masco. Gene might have been there. I know we had a story on that. So
might have been Pat Sports in those days.
Yeah, it might have been Pat. Yeah, true. But so in any light, it's an incredible achievement for him, and something you don't see very often. I mean, I wrote about it, and the record in the NBA is 14 threes by Mr. Klay Thompson, and that's a 48-minute game. Obviously, it's tough to compare high school to the NBA, two completely different levels, but the high school game is kind of mirroring the NBA in that a lot of teams are shooting a ton of threes these days, and that's kind of been a key to the game. So it wasn't shocking to see Bobby get all those shots up, but to see him make that many 12 threes in a game was pretty awesome.
And that that 42-point performance, that puts him into the company of like I know you had some stories with some notes from Mike Grenier, but with Rick Brunson, Scooney Penn, big names from Salem basketball over the years. And so Jellison kind of joins that crowd now.
Absolutely. You don't see, double-digit threes a lot, but you don't even see 40-point games a lot at the high school level. I mean, 32-minute game, 40 points, that's a lot of points. So he had 12, 36 from three. So you had a couple other buckets of the mid-range or layup variety. And yeah, just an all-time performance for him. It's too bad there weren't any fans to be there to witness it. The game is on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. They filmed the game, so I was able to flip back and watch some of the highlights, which was pretty good. They do a nice job with the camera work. But more importantly, they got the win. They beat Marblehead by, I think, 9 points in that one, and they're 12-2 on the season with one game left on this weekend. So just a good season for Salem, something to cheer about there, and obviously a great way for Bobby to go out. I'm sorry, they're not finishing up this weekend. The season is over now because there was a positive case at Marblehead, and subsequently shut both teams down for the year. They would have each had a few games left, but
okay,
not gonna be able to finish up. So they finished 12-2, and Bobby gets to go out on top.
Well, Tom Doyle does a great job with Salem basketball. Their head coach, Tom Doyle at Salem. And, I'm not a coach, Nick, but if I were the opposing coach, I think I'd be very quick in that first half to be saying, get out there on number 2 and cover that guy a little closer. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, it's
but
funny.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Mike Giardi did a good job trying to double him, trap him.
I'm sure Mike told his players that. I'm pretty sure of that.
He was in one of those groups. I mean, Bobby said it just didn't matter. He was going to let it loose. And Tom Doyle, the coach, said after he got caught up watching during the game, he felt like he wasn't even coaching at points because he was just watching Bobby shoot. And he apologized to the team after, saying, sorry, I got a little caught up in the moment there, but it's just not something you see every day. It was a pretty good moment.
It reminds me of, I'm a little older than you guys, but watching the Celtics, Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins matchups where they're just draining shots like crazy, trading baskets and having huge games. I think they had a few matchups over the years like that, but what a great performance. Other than that, Nick, just to continue on with boys basketball, Beverly's still undefeated on the season, and they're rolling along in the Northeastern Conference under Coach Matt Karakoutis.
They are. They're doing a great job. I think 12-0 wasn't exactly to be expected from this group at this point in the year, but give them all the credit in the world. They've dominated a lot of their games. They've won some close games. They've come back in games to take the lead and win. So, they've gotten it done on all levels. And after last year's run, I mean, just an entirely different look for that team. They brought back a few guys that saw minutes, like Gabe Copeland. He's leading the team in scoring now as a sophomore, but overall they don't have like 4 starters from last year's team, maybe even all 5. So to come back and do that with the young talent they have is pretty impressive. I'm not going to go out there and say that this year's team would beat last year's Beverly team, because I don't think that's true. But they're still having a great season, deserve a lot of credit, and they're going to be set for the future with all these young kids. They got some really good sophomores, some good freshmen, a couple good juniors, and only 2 seniors on the team. So who I should give a shout out to, actually, while we're on the topic, Cam Jones and Brennan Frost, the 2 senior captains. Cam's been playing great lately, 3 straight double-digit scoring efforts. Brennan apparently is just a fantastic leader. Doesn't matter how many minutes he plays, he's putting in all the work to make sure his team's prepared and ready to go. And it's just been a good mix of players and good coaching, and they're back at the top of the NEC.
Gotcha.
They got a chance to go to 13-0 Saturday to wrap up their season, and they're playing Lowell Catholic, who is, I believe, 10-2 coming in. So that could be their toughest test of the year, kind of an out-of-conference game. Karakutis was pretty excited about that one.
Yeah. We saw Lowell Catholic in the tournament last year, right, Nick? I mean, well, I'm not sure. Were they in the North sectionals?
Was that Lowell or Malden?
No, they didn't. They didn't see Lowell Catholic. Beverly, yeah, Beverly played Malden Catholic.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was a tournament. Was it I think it was the tournament, wasn't it?
I think it was. First round, second
at Beverly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they crushed him, I believe. Yeah. So.
But Lowell's apparently got a good team. They got 2,000-point scorers. One's a pretty high prospect, college prospect. So they'll have their hands full.
Yeah. Well, Nick, what about any other notes from the boys' side at all? Any this season? Any plus surprises that you saw? Marblehead had a slow start, but they've had some. They played pretty tough coming down the stretch here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you feel like if Marblehead had more games to work with here, they'd come out with a pretty good record, because they're playing some good basketball down the stretch. I mean, they almost beat Salem with Bobby's 12 threes. So
yeah,
right there. They've had they had a good game with Beverly earlier this year, who's obviously undefeated. And most of their games have come down to like the final minute or two. So they've been really competitive. And that's another team that has a lot of guys coming back. Their top scorer, Hunter Fleming, will be back in the fold next year. He's a big kid with a nice stroke. They got some good guard play. And I think a big reason for their success has been their depth. Giardi rotates in like 12 guys a night, sometimes more. Just keeps getting in shifts, almost like hockey, and kind of wears down the other teams. So that's been fun to watch. Swampscott, they just came back after a 2-week break. They're able to sneak in a few more games here down the stretch after dealing with the COVID issue. They came back, got a nice win. I believe they've only played about 8 games this year, maybe even less, but they've had a pretty strong season. Let's see, Bishop Fenwick wrapped up just last week. I don't think we talked about that on the podcast last week, but they had a nice season that came to an end against St. Mary's in the conference tournament. But they gave them a run, and that was a game that was winnable. So they had a good season. I'm trying to think. Ipswich and Hamilton Wenham in the Cal, they were going to meet. And we're recording again. This is Friday, so by the time you guys watch this or listen, that game will be over. But Hamilton Wenham Ipswich, that's a good matchup Friday night in the Cal Baker Division final. So it's been a really, like we've mentioned before, just competitive, a lot of teams beating each other type deal this year. There's no clear-cut dominant force. Obviously, you have undefeated Beverly, but they're susceptible to be able to lose. They're not, a juggernaut per se. And St. John's Prep, that's the last one we should cover here. I think they are also playing. Willie was at that game, or will be at that game Friday night. Again, you're watching this Saturday, but they got they're in the semifinals of that with a chance to win their conference and send Aiden Callahan out on a good note. He's had a really fantastic career for them. So good hoop season. It was fun. We had some layoffs here with different teams. It's tough without the fans and some of the different rules, but like any of the other sports, like we talked about with hockey, just good to be back out there. And these kids seem to be having fun and going all out. And it's just, it's nice to be back out there.
Yeah, nice season for the Prep, by the way. It turns out to be a very good year.
Really nice. Yeah, they had a good team. It's too bad. I mean, some of these teams like Salem, Hamilton Wenham, Beverly, St. John's, they could have made some nice runs in the tournament. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
And I watch scores from time to time, obviously. And Salem had a double overtime win against Gloucester. So Gloucester's
Right.
Picked up some
The,
nice key
the
wins
day
this year as
after,
well.
or 2 days after the Jellison game, they went on double overtime, and Bobby hit 6 more threes in that, but he cooled off a little bit. I think he did such a high percentage, but yeah, they pulled that one out too. So it's yeah, there's been some exciting games for sure.
Matt, want to pick up on anything else that you think of? I mean, we have talked a little bit about girls basketball as well this year. I know I'm just looking at a couple things. Peabody girls, had a very good year this year as well.
Nice job. Yeah, they finished up 9-3. I think good for second place in the conference. I don't know exactly how many losses Winthrop wound up with, but that's a pretty good showing for a team that didn't make the playoffs last year and was starting just one senior in the starting lineup by the end of the year. So, I mean, that's a team that'll be reckoned with certainly next year, which is nice. And Marblehead had a nice year for themselves as well. Danvers inching back close to 500. I think they're 7-6 after their victory over Salem Academy the other day, rousing as that was. And, I think we need to open up the non-conference schedule a little bit beyond Salem Academy for some of these NEC teams. Nice to see Beverly picking up Lowell Catholic. I hope that's something that continues. I think like Masco girls against St. Mary's, for example, would have been an awesome game to watch. Fenwick, we should mention Fenwick now that I digress into St. Mary's. Fenwick's going to get their third game against St. Mary's in the CCL Cup final this weekend. And it's going to be interesting. I had a chance to watch the second game between those two teams. I think it was the one in Fenwick. I don't know if it was the first or the second, but very, very good defensive performance by Fenwick, not so good on offense. And they had some chances to get in that game and ended up losing, by, I don't remember, 8 or 10 or something like that down the stretch, but just missed a lot of bunnies. And, if they make their shots and bring that defensive intensity, that could be cause for an upset. I think a lot of people have St. Mary's as number 1 in the state or at least number 1 outside of Division I. And, so that would be a really awesome way for Fenwick to end the year. And obviously St. Mary's got a great team of their own, Paige Parent, great 3-point shooter. And the other girl from Ipswich there is a tremendous scorer off the dribble. And, so they got some talent over there. St. Mary's does. And, that should be really intense, really, really fun game. I mean, I would say if it's close, Fenwick maybe would be the team that wins. And if it ends up being a 10 or 12 point game, most likely St. Mary's is pulling away there down the stretch, but, you never know, and especially playing a team a third time, right? How many times over the years have we seen the team that wins the first 2 meetings in the regular season loses that postseason meeting in the traditional state tournament?
Right.
Yeah,
the same thing that happened with the boys. They met twice in the regular season, Fenwick and St. Mary's, and then they met again in the tournament. And I just to add to that, I think it'll be nice to have some fans there too. I know Fenwick has been allowing some fans, so the atmosphere was pretty good at St. Mary's for the boys game.
When those sometimes it gets a little raucous when those parents get together from those two schools.
Sure.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Best behavior, or else Rose will be the one that is reprimanding them. You don't want to cross Rose, but I think the biggest player probably to watch in the game is Nasha Arnold for Fenwick. The forward, she has been coming along. Had I think a season high of 21 in the semifinal win over Bishop Thean. And so if she finds that stroke offensively, and even next year too, she's for sure an MVP candidate because she has so much size and power and raw skill. And as she gets refined, she has the potential to be really one of the best post players for girls, I think, on the North Shore and probably in all of Division III. So she could be the difference maker in this one if Fenwick pulls off the upset.
Well, gentlemen, our time is just about over here, but I just wanted to wrap up. I got one note to share. We have talked about Lynn Sports a number of times on the podcast. Some news this past week where apparently the Greater Boston League ADs met with the Lynn ADs, and apparently even city officials and school officials from the Greater Boston League met with the Lynn English and Lynn Classical School leadership, and it looks and they've been given the green light in Lynn to begin practices for Fall 2 this next week. Not yet sure whether they'll be competing in games. That decision will be a school committee decision on February 25th. But you would think this looks like a coordinated effort so that the Lynn schools, that would be the public schools, tech, English, and classical, could start their Fall 2 sports, which it would include, in their case, soccer, because they didn't play in the fall,
Right.
and with the GBL. And of course, football is a Fall 2 sport. And it looks like it feels to me as if this is a coordinated GBL kind of thing where they officially go into the GBL in September, but they're going to be playing Fall 2 and apparently spring with the Greater Boston League, if they in fact pull the trigger and begin Fall 2 sports schedule. Yeah.
Well, good for them. Long overdue, in our opinion, as we've said every week. That is good for those kids. They deserve.
Yep, and it sounds, again, it appears as if it's a coordinated effort, but at least they're taking the steps, and they'll pull the trigger. It looks like this coming week on the 25th, at least in Lynn, to see how it happens. Well, gentlemen, great seeing you again this week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill.
You
too.
You got it.
Head out to Lake Tahoe to watch the Bruins, Bill.
Should I bring sunscreen? I think I need sunscreen for that, right?
I don't know.
I don't know what the weather's like out there right now. They get pretty cold in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, but they had a lot of sun out there too. A lot of sun,
true.
right?
A lot of sun. No, that's true.
You know what? That is how you get sunburned, is when the sun is on you, but it's cold, so you don't notice it. That is dangerous.
That's one of the ways.
The snow too,
That's right. Yes, yeah. That's my point. Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Thanks.
beat you to it.
Thanks, Nick. Okay.